To this council meeting. I'll open with karakia, tui karunga, tui kararo, tui karoto, tui kawaho, tui tātou te tangata, ki te kaupapa o te hui nei, ki te kaupapa o te rangi nei, Māori ora ki a tātou katoa. We have two members online, so Councillor Woods, Councillor Greening, everyone else is present except for Councillor Butler, who we haven't had an indication of an apology, so we'll work on the basis she's either going to join online or turn up in the room in due course. So there are no apologies. Order of business is as contained in the agenda. There is nil public forum. Declaration of interest from anybody? Nope. That means we get to the confirmation of minutes. So the open minutes of the meeting of the 28th of May. Someone moved they were true and correct record. Councillor Mailing, seconded Councillor Gully. All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
And the confidential minutes of the meeting held on the 28th of May. Someone moved, Councillor Kinnenmont and Councillor Hume. All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. So we will now move on to the reports, and first up we have the adoption of the annual plan and the schedule of fees and charges. So Amy, Dwayne and Matt. Welcome. Amy, will I come over to you to introduce the item and then we will take it from there.
Atamarea I te koromātua o te ratina koutou nā kai konihira o te tai aurere. Good morning, Mayor and Councillors. I'm pleased to introduce this report seeking adoption of the annual plan and schedule of fees and charges for 2026-2027. Like many councils across the country, Tasman is navigating a period of significant change. We are responding to new expectations, ongoing sector reforms and increasing financial pressures, all while continuing to support our communities through recovery from the June and July 2025 weather events. These pressures are not abstract, they are being felt across our district, in households and businesses, and in the services our communities rely on every day. This has been a particularly complex and challenging annual plan to develop. Factors including higher interest rates, insurance, asset depreciation, fuel costs, regulatory compliance, and maintaining core infrastructure are all putting increased pressure on how we operate. In addition, the Council is managing the financial impacts of the 2025 weather events. Public consultation ran from 2nd of April until 3rd of May, and we received nearly 270 submissions. You considered this feedback at the deliberations meeting on 28th of May, with the resulting changes incorporated into the final annual plan and fees and charges before you today. Decisions about rates, fees and charges, service levels and investment all have real consequences. This annual plan reflects the care taken to manage those trade-offs while continuing to meet our obligations and focus on what matters most to the community. To achieve this, the Council has made some difficult decisions, including pausing or reprioritising parts of the work programme, taking a targeted approach to recover costs from the 2025 weather events and debt funding some costs. The consequential rates revenue increase in the annual plan 2026-27 is 9.9%, excluding growth, consistent with what was consulted on. This is made up of 2.3% for the recovery costs of the 2025 weather events, 5% for the Three Waters cost increases, and 2.6% for the cost increases to the rest of council business. Net debt remains within the revenue ratio limit in the financial strategy. I want to emphasise that this budget has been developed under significant constraint. There is limited ability to absorb unexpected costs or new requests, and both financial and program discipline will be critical over the coming year. Adopting the annual plan and fees and charges today enables the Council to set and collect rates, fund our services and operate lawfully into the next financial year. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. So we'll open it up for debate. I'll move the resolution from the chair and I'll look for a seconder. So there has been a massive amount of work and time put in, and the resolutions that were passed at the previous council meeting in relation to the detail where we worked through a range of variations and options, and obviously there was debate on a number of different key components. So we've arrived at the point in the year where the final adoption is necessary. No doubt there will be a range of views expressed as to the merits or otherwise, and people are obviously entitled to their perspectives and views. But at this point in the process, there's not the opportunity to make changes to the complex range of decisions that effectively we made in the previous council meeting. So I have moved from the chair. I'll look for a seconder, Councillor Gully, and it's now open for debate and discussion. Councillor Mailing.
This has taken an awful lot of work, and I think I need to thank the staff for the amount of work they've had to put in. But the bulk of this rate rise is driven by three things. One is local water's done well, and regulations out of central government, which arose out of the Havelock North drinking water incident some 12 odd years ago. But on top of that, we've got the weather events last year, and also depreciation. And those are what are driving our costs. And if you look forward, they're going to be similar things facing this council in the future. And if you look around the country, I was looking at Wellington, just their water charge is $5 a week extra on every house just for water. And it's going to go more. So that's what New Zealand's facing in local government, and it's being driven by what central government is telling us to do. So we just need to be very aware of that. But I'm happy to support this motion, and we move forward.
Thank you, Councillor Mailing. Councillor Greening.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to call for a division. Principally, I suppose, the rate rise is driven by a number of factors, but one of them is an inability to reduce costs. During the workshops, we were assured that cost reductions would come through the long-term plan. We've had a number of workshops. We haven't seen them. We've even had one ELT member refuse to present them to us in a workshop. I think we can't wait another year before we get to cost reductions. They need to start now. I don't support a number of expenses that are indicated, and I think we have a full financial year to find cost reductions before we need to incur debt. So I'm not supporting the resolution, and I am foreshadowing an alternative resolution based on a 3% increase. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Greening. Are there any other speakers? If not, I will note before Councillor Neubauer. It was like an auction. Going once, going twice. Oh, there's another one in. Councillor Neubauer.
Everybody's awfully quiet today. I have a question about a figure. I think the water services you mentioned has reduced to 5% of the overall rise. Maybe I looked at the wrong document, but it seemed to still suggest the previous 5.3% increase in the draft document. Is that a mistake, or?
No, the 5% went down from 5.3% as a result of the changes in the deliberations meeting.
So that is the proper number.
Yeah.
Good. And can you clarify whether there have been any changes to the capital program?
No further changes since the revisions made during the deliberations meeting.
Okay.
There's a full capital program attached to the report.
Yeah, and we're looking at prioritising that program still.
That process hasn't been underway yet. It's part of the L2P process, so it will be happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
And can you clarify whether the council will continue to, on the weather event recovery rate, that the council will essentially still act as an insurance company for, sorry to use this crude analogy, but in the way that's structured, the community is basically communalising any costs related to infrastructure in high-risk areas. Still, there's no change to that.
I guess through the chair, the costs have to be met somehow, and the annual plan has a way of meeting those costs.
And can we also clarify that we are still debt funding operational expenditure?
Through the chair, yes, there's certain items within the operating area that are, for example, the Saxonfield capital, because it's a grant we give to them for capital assets. So yes, there's 3, 4, 5 things that we do fund for via loans at present.
Because otherwise we would exceed the 9.9% rate rise. So I do acknowledge that we have come a long way with this annual plan. I think there's a lot of improvements from where we started, but that factor that we are continuing to fund operational expenditure through debt is the red line that I cannot cross. So I'm going to vote against it.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Neubauer. If there's Councillor Kennemont.
Thank you. Through the Mayor. If I can just clarify your comments just before, did you say that the CapEx program that went out for consultation has not significantly changed to the current one that's in the draft one for approval today?
No, that's not correct. There were changes since consultation as a result of the deliberations meeting. So you'll remember there were decisions around the community facilities. They're reflected in the capital program now, and there have been a couple of minor changes and adjustments as well to bring that capital total down slightly.
So effectively, my information I had here, there was something like about $2 million have come off the CapEx. Is that, am I roundabout right, from 109 to 103, 106?
It's around 6 million since the figure that was consulted on.
For the coming financial year?
Yes.
That we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kennemont. Councillor McNamara.
Like Councillor Greening, I'm a little disappointed not to have seen any clawback of what we were loading up as short-term debt to this point in the long-term plan discussions. Equally disappointed to see that we had a spare couple $100,000 odd to go around changing speed signs this coming year, which I had earlier requested might be paused. Yeah, I don't like the position we're putting ourselves in.
Thank you. Councillor Ferniho, then Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. Through the chair, can you please outline the risks associated if we do not adopt the annual plan today?
Great question, thank you. So it's unlawful to operate without setting an annual plan. We're required to set an annual plan for the coming financial year. It enables us to collect rates, and we also set fees and charges through that process as well. If we do not agree an annual plan, we need to inform the Minister, and there's a process to follow around that. So not somewhere we really want to go.
Thank you, Councillor Ellis. Then Councillor Woods.
Thank you, everybody. It's a huge amount of work, and been through this process a few times and nutting out all the ins and outs and what impacts different changes in budgets have. And sometimes we can make a change in a budget and it has zero impact on our rates, and it's infinitely frustrating process. I mean, there's plenty in this that I don't agree with, but that is the nature of democracy. And eventually we have come to this point, and I can't imagine if anybody would like everything that is in this piece, but as has already been pointed out, the risk not to put this through is far, far greater than all of those issues that each of us may individually have with us. So I will be voting to put through this annual plan.
Thank you, Councillor Ellis. Councillor Woods.
Thank you, through the Mayor. Yeah, it's a tough position, and I share Mark and Dean's concerns that through this entire process, when we started, we did promise ourselves to look at cost of delivery of our services, the service levels themselves, and efficiency gains that we could make. And right from the outset, I've just struggled with myself that for an organisation this size, we've been unable to demonstrate any significant review of any of those aspects of the annual plan. I still have that concern. I just, it's no criticism of anyone involved. I recognise it as a process involving many different parties and moving parts, but fundamentally, to come back to our ratepayers and say that we were unable to review our organisational aspects, to me is just, it's not really on. So, yeah, I'm concerned about putting this through. I'm probably not going to vote for this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Woods. Councillor Murray, Deputy Mayor Murray.
Thank you through the mayor. Like I'll be voting in support of the recommendation and just recognising, I guess, the journey that we've all been on through this. So we actually, if we are honest and transparent, we did get the 9.9 down, but then this table also decided to fund increased depreciation on our roading network. In fact, there was a member that wanted to fund up to 11% of a rate increase in terms of the roading network. So we need to be absolutely honest that while the restrictions at an annual plan time, especially facing a new council coming on this table, is difficult to change the boat. I guess where we move forward from here in terms of the LTP discussions and absolutely understanding these metrics and getting it down, but we have the dilemma of, whilst we have 50% of the community that wants more services, actually 58 in terms of a community asset in Watuika, we also have the dilemma of balancing the affordability of rates. This would be a simple world if people said, that's okay, we don't want anything else, we'll just run as we are, we'll maintain rates, our general rate increase is 2.6%. Actually, the water's sort of out of our control, can we take control back of that? But if we did nothing and the people in our communities asked for nothing else, we would absolutely be able to deliver a better number, but that's just not the case. But to sit here and hear people voting against it, there's been a lot of discussions. There's been some movements in terms of where we've got to. At some point, we're going to have to, I guess, come together and support. This is the best decision that this table collectively came to, and it might not be what we individually wanted. In fact, there's not a heck of a lot in this outcome that I want in terms of pausing a community facility still at 9.9%, but it is where we're at. And I guess I just want to acknowledge everybody around this table for all the questions, all the input. It's easy to beat each other up, but actually, collectively, this is where we arrived. So on that matter, I'll be supporting the resolution.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Murray. Councillor Morgan.
Yesterday, I listened to Mayor Timms and Mayor Nick Smith's corridor on the merger of Tasman and Nelson City Council. And there was a commentator there talking about the discussion and practices of councils across New Zealand. I've sat here for 6 months and enjoyed it and enjoyed the collegialness of our discussion. And I've looked at the framework of how we interface with our community ratepayers and the framework, the system that we operate here. I have been disturbed about the way we're managing it in the form of how we analyse and compile capital expenditure, the fluidity of the list, the lack of implementation of the annual plan capital allocation, the issues around depreciation and the fact that depreciation are not renewing assets, and that's what it's for. And there's other fundamental practices, including the ongoing budget that is the operating expenditure is incurring more debt. That was a fundamental discussion in the corridor on the radio yesterday. And what I was looking for was some incremental changes that was being clear to us all that we were working hard to address some of those big issues in our framework. to try and just redefine the direction of the Waka. So I haven't been able to see that, and I understand that we've got issues. I didn't agree with the river rating. I believe we need a longer term view. And, you know, as the federal will talk about it in the long-term plan, but at the end of the day, those issues that we face on an ongoing basis, we need to have the corridor amongst the community and agree or disagree that, you know, climate conditions and the likes are not just here today, they're challenges for the future. So we have to shift our thinking from an annual plan, a long-term plan, to a longer-term plan, which is you guys are calling it the spatial plan, coming from the government. In my view, some of the thinking is far too short, and therefore we're not. The way we're running our financial affairs are not aligned to that long-term perspective. So, yeah, I mean, we're where we're at, and we make a decision. Some rate payers can see it, but I think we definitely need to work hard and get our rate increases down to 5%. We've got to get it down there. We haven't got any ongoing credibility with the community if we can't demonstrate we're on that trajectory. So I'll leave it at that from my perspective.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Councillor Butler.
Thanks. Yeah, I'll be supporting this. I think that we have to recognise that we've had the costs of Three Waters placed upon us as a council by government. We've also had the costs of a major weather event, flooding, placed upon us by global warming. And I wouldn't support sacrificing our core organisation to be able to actually reduce our rates, which have been driven to a large extent by those two things. So this is the reality of where we are today, and I think we have to be practical and realistic about that. It's difficult when it's the third year of a long-term plan. We've got a lot of long-term planning that is happening for the long-term plan. So I think it's important to keep it in perspective that this is the annual plan. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Butler. Councillor Walker.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Yeah, I sit here quite frustrated as well. This has taken hours and hours of our staff time, but not just our staff time, of us as elected members. And we've sit here and we've grappled over how do we reduce the 9.9, and it is with frustration that we've gone back out because certain members around this table decided that they wanted to, fund depreciation. I don't want to repeat what everyone else has said around the room, but legally we're obliged to have an annual plan to operate with. The consequences of not having one would put all of us at risk, not just us that are employed or as councillors, but our wider community. I guess my point, though, is that we have been told that the staff didn't have capacity, that there was no time to reduce the level of services, that will be addressed in the long-term plan. And I'm mindful of how many workshops I've already attended, and I'm mindful of where those conversations are coming and going. And we actually need to get down to the nitty-gritty, and we as elected members need to be heard through those workshops, not with our staff reading tea leaves, however that may look. So this has been robust, it has been challenging, and yes, as much as my community will have a target on me, yet again, I have to put an annual plan through because it's a piece of legislation I have to follow, so it will get my vote.
Thank you, Councillor Walker. Is there anything Councillor Kinnan wants, second time around?
With your indulgence.
That's fine.
Reviewing Councillor Fernyho's question, if we have to have an annual plan and signed off and approved by the 31st of June. Is that correct, Amy?
30th of June, yes.
30th of June, sorry. So we don't actually have to have it signed off today. If we'd have an emergency meeting on Monday, if there was I just What I'm saying to you around the table is that we're going to ask the right questions to get the right answers and the full answers. And I don't believe we've had all the full answers, but now I've tested that, that's fine. I am personally not happy with what's happening with the operational aspect, and I'm not happy with the capital works. But having said that, I'm also a pragmatist, and that it is what it is on the 25th of July. We haven't got the ability to go back over and review and review and review. So I'm not happy. I'm not happy at all, but it is what it is. So I'm going to vote in support of it.
Thank you, Councillor Kinnamonth. Councillor Greening.
Yeah, just in response to the comment that it has to be passed today, a foreshadowed motion can be passed today if the one in front of us fails. So I think we have plenty of time today to pass a resolution at a different rate and get staff to come back and do the calculations for that rate.
I'll come across to staff to just because that does sound phenomenally simple on the surface of it. We just don't pass a resolution; we pass another one with a different number, and magically between now and the entire process resets itself. But you might just want to touch on from a staff's perspective that if you had to go from the current 9.9 to 3% on the basis of a foreshadowed motion, whether that is actually pragmatically possible within the next 3 days.
You've set the rate. You've set the rates. So I mean.
So the resolutions, Mark. So if you just let the staff answer, because the resolutions are not just the number; they are the entire program that sits behind it that arrives at the number. Simply changing the number is not the end of the process to get a rate established, because we've been through this before, and it is very specific about the details and the I dotting and the T crossing to ensure that that rate is actually legally arrived at. So, Amy.
That's correct. It's very complex to do the modelling around what a change of that percentage would look like. And there would, I guess, be a large number of assumptions around that too, particularly if you're suggesting no further changes are made and you're effectively debt funding everything to get down to 3%. Matt?
Through the Mayor, we'd also need direction on where, what rates we're actually debt funding.
Yeah, correct. So if Councillor Graney, if you are going to, if we get to that point and you put in a foreshadowed resolution, it will need to be more specific than just 3%. You will just need to lay out, are we debt funding the balance? Are we changing something specific rather than just a single number? But we'll cover that if we get there.
Through the Chair, we would also have to come back and redraft the annual plan and bring it back for adoption. And I guess it's just worth stressing that at the deliberations meeting, the council, and it was, I think, almost the majority of you anyway, I can't remember all the names, but this reflects the decisions made on that day. You know, like it isn't a new plan. It doesn't reflect a material departure from the decisions you made on that day. It is, in fact, just packaging it up.
Okay, thank you, Blaine. Councillor Neubauer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm actually, hearing the discussion, I'm looking for some direction from the Chair for how I should behave in this meeting. I am absolutely aware of the legal implications of this annual plan and what happens if we don't adopt it. I'm also aware that I have made clear where my red lines are throughout the entire process and acted accordingly. And I believe it is a matter of democracy that some people agree and some people don't on a plan. And if the majority of the people agree on the plan, then that is our plan. But that shouldn't be any pressure on me to change my vote against my better conscience if my red line is crossed.
That's entirely correct. I mean, ultimately, everyone votes based on what they feel about it. I think a number of people have mentioned that it's unlikely that, well, in fact, it's not unlikely, it's impossible that everyone around this table will ever be happy with everything that's contained within any annual or 10-year plan. And the more red lines you apply to yourself, the more difficult it will ever be to actually support something if one of those red lines is not supported by the majority. So I guess that's the challenge with red lines. However, the whole point of this is it's a democracy and people can vote entirely as they see fit based on the resolution that's in front of them, notwithstanding the fact that that does present some significant challenges. That is the way the system works. So yes, there is no compulsion, pressure, other than as long as everyone is clear on what the challenges are should we not pass it. It's entirely over you to how you vote. Right, if there's anything further, so just before I put the resolution, I'd just like to thank everybody who's been involved. I probably don't agree that there haven't been enough time for questions and answers. There's been an awful lot of questions and answers through the last many months that we've considered the annual plan, both in the lead up to going out with a draft and then subsequently through the consideration of submissions and hearings. People have already touched on the fact we're already well into the workshops in relation to the 10-year plan. And it has been quite interesting to observe that, as we go through each of the individual components, it's actually very hard to dramatically change any one component politically, because while we're offered the opportunities and we're provided the options and, well, you could do this or you could do that or you could stop doing this and it'll save X or it'll save Y, in many cases the saving of X or Y is relatively tiny in the grand scheme of things. And that is one of the challenges as you work through everything in isolation, and then it all has to come together at the end. And the annual plan is the same. Pretty much everyone's mentioned they're not happy with everything that's in it. That is pretty much every single annual plan and 10-year plan in history. Not everybody is happy with everything that's in it. And that would reflect, if you walk out the door and talk to 500 ratepayers, pretty much everyone will be unhappy with something that is either in it or something that isn't in it that they would have liked to see in it. And that is, the process that we have to work through every time. So, but I would like to say, a couple of people have mentioned the way that the debate's been undertaken during the course of both the annual plan and so far during the 10-year plan. I think it has been really collegial. There are some very strong views around this table, as there are in the community, on pretty much every aspect of annual and 10-year planning. But I actually think the way the conversation's been undertaken by and large has been really collegial. People ask good questions, staff provide answers and information, and that is the process that we work through to arrive at these points. So at the end of the day, I will join the club of not happy with everything that's either in or not in the current annual plan. But on balance, I think it does reflect the conversations that have been undertaken, the information that's been provided by staff and the recommendations. And ultimately, it reflects the decision that the council made 3 weeks ago that has now been put into the format that it is today. So, and I know that was by majority, not by either by consensus. It was by majority, and I suspect today's vote will go one way or the other on a majority, and that is democracy. And it's challenging and difficult and dirty and imperfect, but it's the system we run. So, with that, I will put the resolution by division. Kelsey.
Councillor Woods.
I am against.
Councillor Walker. Councillor Neubauer.
Against.
Councillor Morgan.
Against.
Councillor McNamara.
Against.
Councillor Maylene.
For.
Councillor Kinnenmonth.
For.
Councillor Hume.
Against.
Councillor Gully.
For.
Councillor Greening.
Against.
Councillor Fernyhough.
For.
Councillor Ellis.
For.
Councillor Butler.
For.
Deputy Mayor Maru.
For.
Mayor King.
For.
Carried 9-6.
Okay, thank you. Next up, we have the annual plan rates resolution. Right, Margie, over to you.
Thank you, Mayor Tim. So now we're moving on to the rates resolution. This is kind of the formality that sits in behind the resolution that you've just approved. Essentially, it gives us the ability to set the rates, to generate the rates income. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you. So as you've said, this is pretty much a machinery, and it's an I dotting and T crossing part of the process that it's incredibly important we do in the right order and get right, lest we fall into the position of having to go to the government and asking them to redo things, as we have unfortunately had to do sometimes in the distant past. So on the basis it is pretty machinery, someone prepared to move the resolution?
Happy to move.
Moved Deputy Mayor Murray, seconded Councillor Mailing. Don't see that there will be any need for great debate. Councillor Ellis.
Thank you to you, Mayor. Margie, lovely to have you on. So this means the rates increase, and it does put pressure on families and people within our district. I mean, anybody who thinks that people aren't struggling is dreaming. What options do people have if they are struggling with their rates, and what process do they go through to look at getting some sort of relief and help with their rating?
Sure, through the Mayor. So the first thing that we would always look at when somebody contacts us saying that they're struggling with their rates is whether they can apply for a rates rebate. If someone has applied for a rates rebate in a previous year, they will get automatically sent a letter with a new form to apply for the next year. So we're always tapping into those people that have already applied to say, hey, come in. And we do have a lot of people that feel that pressure, especially as that first rates invoice goes out. And we do have a significant run on both customer service and finance staff time, and that particularly those 2-3 weeks after that first rates invoice. If somebody then contacts us outside of that process still saying that they have issues with being able to pay their rates, we try to work with them, understand their personal circumstances, but ultimately at the end of the day the rates still need to be paid. So it could be, do we put a payment plan in over 12 months or 18 months or 24 months if they've got behind. We will try to work with people, but sometimes it's just not possible.
So the point is, if someone does need help and does need some way to work it out, that they contact us early.
Yes, please contact customer services, email the rates team, let us know that you're struggling, and we'll try to come to an arrangement that can work for both parties.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Councillor Ellis. Anything further before I put the resolution? All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. So now we come to Tasman Drinking Water Supplies Assessment. Kim and Mike. Kim, I'll hand over to you.
Kia ora koutou. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Evan sends his apologies, he's not available. Really, this is really an information report only. The due date is 1st of July to inform Council of the status of drinking water supplies across Tasman. So it's a reasonably high level assessment, and I guess you'll be pleased that the council supplies are in good shape and generally meeting the requirements. The private supplies, we had relatively limited information we had to work with from Taumata Arawai. So that was a little bit more challenging to determine, but generally not up to the drinking water standards. So happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Kim. Open for questions. Councillor Butler.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks very much. Thanks for the report. It's been a lot of work. I appreciate that. I'm just querying the comments in there about private supplies, and that because they are not treated, therefore they are not safe. There's an assumption in there. I mean, we had to chlorinate water and have a residual chlorination, was right at the beginning of my council time, I think about 6 years ago. But now we seem to have moved to a situation where we are making an assumption that if the water is not chlorinated, then it's not safe. And I just would like to get your reasoning on that, because we do have a lot of pushback in the community about chlorination, and if we are going to have, if there are new water supplies being provided by the council, then there may be concerns from people that they have to be chlorinated. So just interested to hear the situation with chlorination and why we're assuming that if we don't have it, then it's not safe.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, it's a really good question. That's the 2025 Act didn't define the terms that they required you to assess on, so they did not define what safe was, what quality was, what adequacy was. So we were required to go back to the Water Services Act 2021 and took that definition into the meaning of safe in relation to drinking water. That's in the one of the appendices in the assessment. But it raises a really good question. We had very limited information from Taumata Arawai, and their assessment really was whether there were barriers in place for bacterial or protozoa or residual disinfection. They didn't specifically mention chlorination, but so it has been based on that, and it is a fairly high-level assessment. We haven't had the resource or capacity to go to each private supply, and that we've noted in the report that may be required for the next time round in 3 years' time. So,
right, and will you be relying on Taumata Arawai to provide the information about the private water supplies, or will we be going looking for them?
Through you, Mr. Chair. The preference, of course, is for Taumata Arawai to obtain that information. They have the current relationship with the private suppliers. Council doesn't, so we feel it's very much the ball's in their court to do that. They are they're in charge and control of their own resource, so they can resource that.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, if I could add that we are not resourced to do that investigation. In the past, we've taken on consultants to do it, and we've had a specific budget to get them to go out and door knock and find what the quality of the treatment and so on. Just coming back as well to the level of treatment or what is safe. The benchmark is a 4-barrier system where you've got safety plans, risk safety plans for your source, you've got filtration, you've got UV treatment, and you've got residual disinfection. So to be truly safe, that's the level that you'd expect someone to be treating their water to.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Butler. Councillor Mailing.
I'm happy to remove the report, but I've got a couple of small questions. And first is, has there been any pushback from local government across the country about some of the standards that are being imposed by Taumata Arawai? Because the costs that I see throughout New Zealand are horrendous. And I don't see, particularly in our district, that it actually improves the quality of our drinking water. So I think Taumata Arawai is out of control. That's my personal opinion. So is there any pushback coming from around New Zealand yet?
Yeah, I believe there has been, through you, Mr. Mayor. But the challenge is that Taumata Arawai has come back and say they're just undertaking what they're required to do under legislation. So, yeah, I know there has been discussions about the drinking water standards, and there has been some minor movement to it. But at this point in time, they're pretty standard. They're sticking to their legislation and making sure that, because obviously they're carrying risks as well if they apply standards that turn out not to be sufficient. So they're obviously making sure that everything's watertight.
Yep. So they answer to only one minister, as I understand it. They answer to a minister in the government, cabinet minister.
Yeah, they do, but at the end of the day, they administer the legislation that's been applied to the Water Services Act.
Need to change the legislation.
So I've got Councillor Green and Councillor Gully, just while we're following up on that question and the answer that came back. So in terms of, like, I note under 34, there are projects in the long-term plan to extend the existing water supply network in Motueka to areas not currently serviced. This funding currently lies mostly beyond year 10. So it's in the long-term plan, but outside the 10-year funding. So can you just clarify that? And then secondly, 36, the need to develop water supply schemes in Pohara, St. Arnaud, Tākaka and Tata Beach potentially requires specific assessments based on public health risk. What?
Can I answer that? Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the first question there is a project or two in the 10 years in Motueka West, but the majority for the east of High Street is beyond the 10 years, well beyond. So there's, of course, other factors that go into planning for that the council could need to consider close to the time, like as part of the wider Motueka master planning. The the point there is whether there's appetite for council or communities to go the next step to look in detail at what's required to, one, implement a communal water scheme, but before that, assess, is there really a risk? So what level of public health risk is there? So for Motueka, we know there's over 5,000 people that are on their own shallow bore. There's a perceived level of risk with high level of public risk with that, and a large population. For Tākaka to Tata Beach, there's a lot of coastal communities in between. There's thousands of people there also that are on not on a community supply, communal community supply. So we've mentioned in the assessment that many years back there was a proposal to fully reticulate Motueka and to fully reticulate Tākaka, and funding was available through the Drinking Assistance Program, and the community came back reasonably strongly that wasn't widely supported. So all those factors will need to be taken into account if council was going to put money into looking at proposing those schemes again.
Okay, so
Hopefully
at this stage there is no intention. I just want to understand exactly where we are, because it's quite a significant. Around the country, there's plenty of challenges funding water and wastewater and stormwater infrastructure that we currently have, without starting to look to grow more into areas that have been created and currently operate without such a system.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
So
yep.
I just want to understand what this is. There a obligation or a requirement, or is this it's a you could if you want to, in which case can we quite quickly get to the point where we give you some direction on our views collectively as to whether we want to or not?
Absolutely, and there's the Three Waters workshop coming up next month. That would be ideal.
Okay, so that would be the place that you would say there is the possibility that the council may wish to embark on.
What's your appetite? How would you?
All right.
Yes. Yep.
Excellent. We will leave the debate till that particular day. It'll be fun.
Can I just add to that as well? One thing that this will highlight when we submit it to Taumata Arawai is that they could, in the future, if problems occur with any of these private supplies, ask the council to take it over and run it.
Yeah, so private supplies being private supplies that service more than one, more than 25 or more than 5.
Yeah, when I say private supply, I'm talking about supplies that comply with the 25 population.
Yeah, so not correct. The individual situation that we have in, for example, St. Arnaud or
that's right.
Correct. Okay. Thank you. So I have Councillor Green, Councillor Gully, Councillor Woods, Councillor Ellis.
Didn't have my hand up, but happy to make an observation. Just
process. Carry on.
Point, which is why is this information only report coming to us? I thought they went to the information forum.
Sorry.
And then my second question is, it would be really useful in these reports if they actually headed them as they used to with information only report. You have to actually drive down to the resolutions to work out whether it is actually a decision or just an information only report.
Yep,
So
cool.
that
Thank you.
improvement would be appreciated.
Good question, Kim.
Yes, Mr. Chair, it was purely timing. So the legal requirement was for council to be informed by 1 July. We weren't able to get to the last information forum in time. We got the information from Taumata just last month. So yeah, purely timing. Ideally, it would have been an information forum report.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Gully.
It's Moko. I'm going to go out to my car and bring back some real rainwater for you gentlemen that's full of possum poo, leaf litter and everything. And, you know, I've said this about 3 times in 6 months to you, Mr. Kirby. We've had this discussion more than once. Leave us alone. We've been self-sufficient with rainwater forever. And to have someone knock on our door in the next whenever, if some of this goes through, you're in for a scrap, mate. I mean, Lakes Murchison people are very proud of the way we live, our independence, and do not impose this anywhere near us.
Can I just comment? Don't shoot the messenger, please, councillor.
Yeah, I mean, I think what is being reflected is Taumata ROI's direction for us to at least consider these things. As was pointed out by Kim, at the workshop, we can provide direction as to whether we want anyone knocking on anyone's doors anytime soon. And I'm sure, given your passionate explanation, that we will provide some intent and direction. Councillor Woods.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to pick up on the points made by Kit and Celia, and I think yourself, Tim, that the standards are driving a lot of cost, and they appear to be, from the tables I've read, where we've got a lot of green happy faces being applied to water that is, well, servicing our community very well. We're not aware of any significant community issues, and where they are, they're isolated and being dealt with rapidly. So where we mentioned that the definitions of safe drinking water going back to 2021, why or what has changed that we are now deviating from the LTPs around water quality that was set in 2021 to the new compliance costs being asked for in this new LTP to address drinking standards, drinking water standards that apparently haven't changed in 7 years, 6 years.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So there are a lot of dates or regulatory timeframes that we have to comply with certain levels of drinking water compliance across our schemes, and the report sort of strongly notes that council has invested hugely and has brought a lot of their schemes up to meet the compliance requirements. The few that aren't the rural schemes, and council has plans and projects in its long-term plan to also bring those up to standards. So there's been a lot of investment from council, a lot of funding, and that's commended. So there has been as you know, a lot of legislation, the 2021 Act, and a lot in between that and the 2025 Water Services Act. And council is required to meet those obligations under law. So I'm not sure that answers the question entirely. But
can I just add to that? The drinking water standards haven't largely changed since the early 2000s. But what has changed is how we monitor and how we record, and the barriers we put in place to make sure that the risk of contamination is managed. That's where the costs are right now. And I've made that comment previously. We have not had any problem with the quality of our water within Tasman District for many, many years. But unfortunately, because some of our schemes are exposed to risk and contamination, that's the area that the new legislation is requiring us to put barriers in place so that those risks are mitigated, even though the quality of the water and the standards we're meeting haven't changed.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair, can I just...
Yep.
Is that is that specific? Thank you, Richard. Is that specifically related to protozoa? Is that where most of the cost is coming from?
That's one of the factors. It's not the only one. There's Cryptosporidium and Giardia and others as well. That chlorine doesn't treat, and you have to filter, and ultraviolet doesn't treat. So that's why the multiple barriers are required to deal with all those different contaminants that one barrier may not deal with.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Walker.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Some of my community would say we've probably placed them at risk and contaminated them by putting chlorination in the mop water supply. Take me back to that. We went out and consulted with our community. There was over 73% from Motueka who said they didn't want it, yet it still happened. The wording of this report, you know, how it states about the public health risk for Motueka, is that a good message for us to put out there? And how is my community to interpret that? And where is my community voice when it comes to if Te Taumata Arawai was to regulate us to have to provide all these water services? Do we go and consult on this, or is this a directive that we'll just go, oh sorry community, this is something we've been rolled on again?
Kim.
It's not a directive. It's there is a lot of consultation that would be required and further assessment. So yeah, we need to get an evidence-based business case and handle on what the level of public health risk is before you'd go down that track. Yeah.
So if I can, through you, evidence-based, does that mean once you've got the evidence we can't have a conversation, or do we get the evidence from our community beforehand?
The latter. So you need to get an absolute picture of what the risk is before you would proceed further.
Okay, thank you. Just one further question. Say 57 and 58. So is there anywhere in the country who are doing these? Councillor Ellis, I'll come back to you. 57 and 58 basically says while it's not required to include shared domestic suppliers, it doesn't specifically exclude shared domestic suppliers. It then goes on to say, yeah, this could be a very large number that, frankly, I suspect we'll never find most of them, because if they've got any brains at all, they'll never tell us. But that is where you have like two houses on one property that share one supply, or you have like lots of farms have multiple buildings and or dwellings that may be connected to one supply. There's a lot of holiday spots and places with batches and things that may share one supply on a very informal, historic basis. Is that what that alludes to, 57 and 58?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that's exactly right. And it's been taken that they are less at risk than a larger population. So although the legislation doesn't, it definitely excludes single dwelling suppliers, but not a shared supply. And we potentially have got thousands of those in our district. You're right, we don't have we don't have any ability to know who they are unless they put their hand up. But we've focused on it's unclear whether that's the intention of the legislation to include those, or to focus on the communities, not the very, very small communities, the ones that are 25 or above.
Yeah,
and
so that's what we've done in this assessment. Is there anywhere in the country who has taken the approach to try and, because I'm assuming everyone's having to do this, is drinking water. So has anyone attempted to do the below 25s?
Potentially Christchurch. We'd have to come back to that.
Therein lies one of the challenges. Yeah. Once somebody does it,
yeah.
Taumata Arawai go, oh, Christchurch could do it. Yeah. What an excellent idea. Perhaps we should all go and so I guess our advice is that we shouldn't give, because clearly it's not the sort of thing we should do. But if anyone rings you, asks you, or sends you a letter and asks you if you're a water supplier to anyone else, your answer should be no, of course not. But that's advice we can't give or shouldn't, and definitely shouldn't be public. We absolutely shouldn't indicate that people shouldn't tell us.
No comment. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. I don't feel so bad about giving you a hard time about all our levels, because it's been giving you practice for Councillor Gully, Mr. Kirby. Yeah, I know. something that's come out of this conversation and the discussion regarding the information that we have to feed into Te Mata Arawai and the private schemes and how the relationship is between the private schemes and the regulator, and the amount of information that we have to give the regulator. But what obligation does the regulator have in providing us with any information regarding where the private schemes are at? Because the ultimate can holder is us, because we have to take these on if there are issues. So is there an obligation on the regulator to keep us informed as to the quality and the level of these private schemes? Or is there a notification level when they're starting to get into trouble so that we can plan, so that it is not a big surprise?
Perhaps I could answer that. When we contacted the regulator to get the information on the private supplies, we had to go through a whole lot of privacy kind of sign off and everything, because obviously it's private information. It's not conclusive on everything, but I don't think they have an obligation to let us know when they find a property that, or properties that are connected to a private supply. They would treat that, if it meets the trigger, they would treat it like any water supplier. What would happen in natural sound, and going back to Councillor Gully's question earlier, is if there is a private scheme, like let's say 5-6 houses on it, and all of a sudden there's a whole lot of sickness in that area, the health department would then be notified, and then a process would start then. Tamatara, the owner of the scheme, would be notified, and we may get involved at that point. But that is only when something crops up. It'll come through the health department. The other one is the Building Act requires houses to have a potable water supply. And so if even our building inspectors come across in their inspections a property that is in that space, then they can issue instructions under the Building Act to deal with the water supply and get a potable supply put in place. So there are other mechanisms. All we are is doing this assessment here, but it's not comprehensive on everything, because I don't think we are the agency that should be looking after all of this.
Yeah, it's the first part of that answer to the question, which actually rings alarm bells for me, but there's not a lot we can do about it. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything further, or I'll look for someone to move the resolution? Oh, has it been moved and seconded? Cool. Just moved. Someone seconded. Councillor Ellis, all in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. So we'll break briefly 15 minutes and come back with the Landfill and Sewerage Joint Committee business plans. Right, we'll reconvene. So I'll hand over to you, Mike, to introduce the next agenda item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of comments from me. These business plans, both the sewerage and the landfill business plans, have been through a process with both councils of review, and then feedback given back to the business unit, the committees. And the financials from these plans have been included in the annual plan for next year already. So happy to take any questions.
Okay, thanks, Mike. I'll come across to Councillor McNamara.
I was just happy to move.
Okay, thank you. And then Councillor Mailing, you wish to speak? Yep.
Having spoken earlier in the meeting about Te Mata Arawai, in terms of the regulations for wastewater going forward, which will affect Bells Island and this council, because we're a half shareholder, in about 20 years' time, are significant. And we need to try and work to get those regulations changed, because they adopt a one standard, one rule for the whole of the country, and the receiving environments are quite different. And that's something that we're trying to work on going forward, because the impact right across New Zealand, but particularly for our region, is significant.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Walker?
I was just happy to second it, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anything further? Councillor Ellis?
Thank you. I just wanted to check something in the report. And it was just a question. It talked about a key renewal item, and sorry, the not numbered, so I can't point you to it. But it says that currently quantified any repair works arising from the inspection work in 25-26, and that we've got funds allocated for maintenance or renewal in 26-27, but we're not sure how much it's actually going to wind up being. When are we going to get some clarification around that, and what is the plan moving forward?
We can't really answer that. I think the business unit and Nathan Clark is probably got some plans in place. I think the intention is to do some research, and most of their infrastructure is pipe work. There's a bit around the pump stations, but they've obviously got some idea about what could be done, and they're going to do some research this year. Obviously, if it's not needed, it won't be spent next year, but they're making an allowance for it. Yeah. But I can't give you the specific details at this point. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Ellis. Is there anything further? If not, I'll put the resolution on. Those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. And I think that draws us to the conclusion of the meeting. So I will close with karakia, kia hiki te kororo, kia pātea, kia mama te manawa o te tangata, kia u ke te ara mō tātou e ora nei, kia rongo, kia runga, kia tēnā, hui e, tai ki e.